can really help in improving the way we pursue social protection. Let me also say that at this point, that NSSF will be a very key player and is a key player for us at NITA. And I just want to share very briefly about NITA and what we do, which Carol may have touched on, and I will just touch on a few of those. I think it's important, very briefly before I get to social protection. So NITA is obviously under the supervision of the Ministry of ICT and National Guidance, and our vision is to transform citizens' lives through e-services delivery. So e-services are what you saw, the channels you saw here. How can we make sure that we bring the government to you and you don't go to the government? Members today have to go to the branch. The branch has come to them in your living homes through SMS, through your smartphones, and that is what we're striving as a government. How can we ensure that you, our citizens, in the comfort of your home, in the comfort of your business, can access the government? You can apply for passports, you can apply for clearance, you can apply for jail. How can we do all those things in the comfort of your home without lining up in a queue somewhere? It is a process, it is a journey, and we shall get there. Strategic focus is, but we have that we are doing, partly is infrastructure, and we want to partner with NSSF on areas of infrastructure, e-government services, regulation, and I'll talk about those. But there are a couple of facets about NITA that I thought you should know about. We hold, under the Ministry of ICT and NITA, we run the government. We have more than 4,000 kilometers of fiber optic cable around the country. And we are the and NSSF that enjoy NITA internet from the government, so local governments, so hospitals, schools up country. And in the next 4 years, under the Ministry of ICT, we have a project with the World Bank. We shall be ensuring that fiber optic reaches the last parish in the next 4 to 5 years. And it's a tough pursuit, but we are laying fiber to the last mile to ensure that happens. We also have a data center which holds 130 government applications. So every time civil servants are paid, that transaction has gone through NITA data center. Every time you sorted out, you've actually gone through a NITA data center. Every time there's a visa that has been issued, you've actually gone through the National Data Center. So we're hosting many government applications there, as well as the government security. I can't talk about the security too much, but we work with the Army, with the Nssf, using technology, with our emergency response services and cyber monitoring. We do automation, and we have an enabling environment of laws. The 2019 law on data protection and privacy, which is important for you as members. Your data is important. Your NSSF number is private. Your bank balance or your NSF balance is also private. So is your phone number and your gender. So these are things that NITA, working under the Ministry of ICT, is working to do, to improve. But let me talk about unlocking government value with data-driven strategies. And I'll be really as quick as I can. So data is extremely key, because data that is not in use has no value. And I think I will demonstrate to you that there's a lot of right now, and NSF is also one of the largest databases. But what is that data doing? It's one thing to say we are producing data, or UBOS has data on statistics. UCC has data on telephone numbers and NINs. NERA has our data about personal ID and our villages and everything. But what is all that data? It can't be harnessed and used. And so how can we use that data to improve our initiatives in social protection? How can the minister and the Ministry of Gender use that information to improve the delivery of social protection? So data drives and progresses innovation, efficiency across various domains. including governments. I think there's another version of my slides. I gave you Penny. I think this is an old version, but I'll carry on. So we're missing a bit of information here. Let me just mention this also very quickly. The data here, and very quickly, we need to do data collection, which is extremely important. How do we collect the data using technology tools? Social protection and how we can provide social insurance to all our members, but how does technology facilitate that? So, data analysis. We need to data that actually comes to us. There is so much data in this country about our private sector. If we were to know how members or citizens now can actually join NSSF as voluntary servers, do we have that data real time right now? Do we know all our Juakali people who are in Qatar now and can save daily, on a daily basis? Do we have that data? If there's a data source somewhere, can we embed that data source, connect it, analyze it, and provide the right reports for our ministers and the policy makers? So we need to do data visualization. We need to have evidence-based decision making. Before we make decisions on social protection, do we have evidence in our reports, analyzed and collected data? Can we have continuous monitoring of this data? And can we also have analytics? I think it's important now that we can begin to forecast what's going to happen to our demographics and our population. Again, data. So there is so much power in harnessing data for social protection. Before we make a policy in social protection, have we analyzed our data sources? Have we predicted the forecasts of where things are going? And therefore, we can now have informed decision making. We can have customer experience of our members. We can now have a competitive advantage. You can actually have increased revenue just because of the data that's been analyzed. And of course, strategic planning is now possible. Let me just make a brief case. It sounds like a briefcase that you hold. But briefly, let me make a case for Uganda. Many of you may have heard about UG Hub. But UG Hub, as I will say briefly, is an initiative of the government of Uganda to integrate for the first time, integrate all data sources that matter in the government so can inform decision making. There has never been an initiative in the government that provides a government as one government, as the UG Hub is now doing under NITA and the Minister of ICT. And our idea is to make your lives easy. One of the things we want to do at NITA, and we've begun doing since last year, is to connect all of government's data. Everybody needs to connect to NIRA because of the national ID. Why should members now register and do their biometrics again at NSSF when they did them already at NIRA? Does that make sense? If they have your fingerprints and they have your photo and they have your date of birth and they know your sex and they know your district, why do you go back in a line in a branch at NSSF and you have to provide that data? Why must you go to UBOS and provide the same data? Why do you go to banks and you spend a whole hour filling a form when NIRA is mandated to do that job? So NITA has said, under the Minister of ICT, we are creating a secure platform where we connect NIRA and connect UBOS and we connect URSB and we connect URA for your TIN, we connect NSSF, list of lands, and any other database you can think of, and allow one-time access. So when you walk to a bank now, you should be able to get your KYC or your data information from NIRA in seconds. It used to take 2 weeks for some banks to verify who you are before opening your account. Today, I think until last week, all banks now are now on UG Hub. And on a press of a button, within about 11 to 13 seconds, they have all your information. with them. They can verify who you are through NIRA. And these are the things we want to do with technology. Quicken access of services. This same thing can be done for NSSF. Has a partnership with us already. And we're now trying to onboard NSSF on UG Hub. And it's one of our quickest points, Patrick, we need to pursue. Because with NSSF now, you will now have access to any database in the government, free of charge, of course. KCCA, which you as KCCA, Ministry of Lands on Titles, which are property security, URSB, how do we know the directors and know your business? Banks require that information. It is now possible. So we hope integration now with NSSF to ensure that we can quicken. We already have partnerships with Ministry of Gender, and we want to provide secure portals, even who are out there. We have these young ladies and young men who are working in the United Arab Emirates. Can they report abuse that is happening real time? And can the minister be aware real time? Like Minister of Foreign Affairs, integration of government services is extremely important at this point. So social protection can now layer on top of that and get predictive information about citizens, about their age, their demographics, and take appropriate decisions based on this information. And we are happy to engage with NSF to conclude this engagement. Let me make life easy. NITA doesn't hold data. It only allows traffic to flow. We say NSF a database. URA, you have a database on teens. URSB, you have a database on business. Create a secure highway to allow you to share data. And this is the foundation of a data-driven government. Must share information for a start, securely, and then build analytics on top. So we are happy that over the last 1 year, we have more than 123 entities now on board UG Hub. And we hope to scale this up to by June next year. Allow me therefore, improvement of service delivery has now been seen. We're seeing more and quicker revenue collection or non-tax revenue. We are now supporting many institutions, SACCOs, and banks to open bank accounts for citizens much, much quicker. We are also now in the process of creating what we call an e-consent solution. Before anybody can access your information, your phone number, your bank account, they should send you an SMS and you should reply, yes. Please give them my permission. Give that bank permission to access my information. So it's called e-consent. And it's among the things that we look after as NITA. So I think allow me to probably skip most of this and just say that there are many trends now in technology that will make social protection much easier. We have artificial intelligence. It is no longer a future trend per se. It is now here. And you have heard that NSF is using bots. Now, the word bot is really, behind that is an automated response. You can now talk to NSSF 24/7 in WhatsApp without any human being behind there, right? And I need to test that at some point, Rebecca. But that is the way to go. We have some young ladies actually in the government now developing a citizen bot where you can chat with Uganda government at any time of the day or night. It's not a call center where people go to sleep. It's not a call center where they're on shifts. You can actually chat with the government day in and day night using technology, and that's artificial intelligence. So I want to congratulate NSF for leading the way. We are trying to get there now, and we hope to get there in a few months. Predictive analytics is extremely important. I say it again. Before the minister, our dear minister, goes to cabinet, she may want to foretell where the population is going from a gender labor perspective. And these analytics are important. They give her the trends, they give her the forecasts, they help her to understand the right policies to enhance social protection. Real-time analytics. How are we doing now? Not yesterday, or how are we going to do tomorrow, but now, on a click of a mouse. And of course, providing data that is available. I think, let me just maybe end with one partnering with social protection. It is important that digital identity is possible. We need to be able to identify our members, our people in our Juakali people who need voluntary savings. How can we quickly do biometrics for them without them coming to line up in our branches? Technology can do that. How do we do? Honorable Minister, you gave us a task during COVID. Money to 500,000 vulnerable people, which was social protection. We had to create an application in 3 days. So my team didn't sleep, and I believe it is possible that technology can work with social protection, Honorable Minister, but thank you for the pressure. But in 3 days, we had to build a national system to deliver money. But the question was, how do you define a vulnerable person? You need analytics to define a vulnerable person. Was I also vulnerable for some deliveries to my home? Or during COVID, nothing came to the reason. Maybe they thought I was vulnerable. But technology can help you identify vulnerable people using analytics and different metrics. So extremely important. Job at NITA and Ministry of ICT is to ensure that we move away from cash to cashless. Imagine if Nssf had to pay physical cash to pensioners. Now we should be able to transfer money. How about mobile money? How about our voluntary savers who is at the end of the day, can he have a mobile phone and sends 5,000 every day voluntary savings to Nssf? That money must be cashless to the quickest way. So I want to just, I think, let me end there, or we could be here all day. But financial inclusion is extremely important, and technology provide that. Thank you, and I want to say that NITA and the Ministry of ICT will be open to partner with Nssf and the Ministry of Gender. Number one, on UG Hub, to connect Nssf, the Ministry of Gender, to using our platform securely. But number two, I want Honorable Minister of State for ICT is here. We need to work hard together to deliver affordable smartphones to our citizens. And it may require us having tax discussions. Our members have access to affordable smartphones. And that's a discussion that we could, because any taxi driver now should be able to send his voluntary savings every single day as part of social protection. So a discussion on smartphones and the affordability of smartphones will be extremely important. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. And I want to say that technology driver for social protection, and I look forward to the partnership with the social protection sector. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much, Mr. Colin Babirukamu. In the same spirit, let's put our hands together for our Permanent Secretary, Ministry of ICT and National Guidance, Dr. Amina Zawede. Yes, you're welcome to this amazing event. And then we also were privileged to receive the Chairman, National Association of Mr. Kim Karisa. You're welcome. Let's give him a round of applause. Thank you for being with us today. Ronnie, back to you, and we resume our agenda.
All right. Thank you very much. A round of applause, Colin Babirukamu. I think passionate presentation, and I like how he juxtaposed the picture of back in the day how it used to be to, just receive your balance, wait in line for 40 hours and get a 40-page document with the wrong balance. But now, thank you so much, Madam Kavugo, for that presentation. We're now compliant. Right now, at your phone, you should be able to check and know how compliant you are. And in that regard, this keeps showing up on the screen. It's a countdown to the 1st of February for you to align yourself and ensure that your your company, you as an employer, you as a sole proprietor, whatever the case may be, align so that you will not be having any penalties. All right? We'd like to be able to take maybe just a few questions from the house. I don't know, Brandy, if you have your mic, maybe we could just move around. I've been advised from what we've had so far, you would like to ask a question, the powers that be are present to perhaps respond to one or two of those. So, hey, we'd like to just give the opportunity in case anyone would like to ask. If not, we can push that for later. But, Brandy, is there anyone down there?
Do we have anyone that would have a question right now? I think now that we have, yes, no? All right, thank you. We have a gentleman here. We shall take 3 questions and then we shall move.
Thank you so much. Once again, my name is Kanyonyi from Kasese. I've liked the presentations, but I'm worried if we'll have them on our emails because we have not registered anywhere. Shall we have these presentations on our emails? Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Kanyonyi from Kasese. Absolutely. The same way you got here, the same way you were invited through your emails, your employers, all of these presentations are going to reach you, especially because we don't want there to be any excuse that I didn't know. That's why First Feb caught me before I was ready. And so all presentations and more will be sent to you the same way we invited you. So rest assured you'll be able to receive all of those. We'll take the last 1 or 2 more, if there is any. I see one hand up there.
Yes, please.
Thanks, the MCs. The question is, I'm Julius Birungi from Channel 44 Television. I came with my colleague, Pastor Majo. The question is, how do you find your NSSF balance if the number you registered with NSSF is different from the number you currently have?
All right, and the person equal to the task is Madame Kavugo Rebecca.
Thank you.
Rebecca, just come to the limelight so where we can see you, or feel free to come up here and support our friends from Channel 44. We don't want Sagala Saudi Desate get there. I never knew. You might want to step away from there.
Okay, that's a very good question. You will not be able to access your balance if the number that we have from you is not registered in your names. And that's a security check. That's why I love that question. So if we cannot identify you as a right party contact, you would have to walk in. You will not enjoy the world of convenience. So we must be able to ascertain that your valid national ID, the telecom number that's mapped to that, is also mapped to your NSSF number. Then you'll enjoy convenience in a safe and secure way. Thank you.
All right. And we'll take one last question at the back.
Backbenchers. There we go.
Backbenchers are also people.
Yes, they are here and they have a question.
Dr. Semakula from Uganda Matters University, UMS Radio. Thank you very much for this and for the collaboration between NSSF and UCC. I think you are aware of the situation of journalists in the country. I think you are aware that some media houses don't pay journalists very well, that their salaries come on time. Yes, let me go ahead. There's an adage that says, crops don't grow because you are hungry. They grow in their time. Will you ensure that these radio stations that do not pay journalists on time, maybe because they don't have the money, pay NSSF? Has there in the context of the media landscape in the country, so that before UCC renews licenses of because radio stations which may not be able to pay salary, will they be able to contribute to NSSF? I think there is need for a study to have this in perspective. As I said before, crops don't grow because you're hungry. They grow in their time. Thank you very much.
Wonderful, thank you very much for that question. And I was just looking at the table over here. As soon as you asked that question, has looked at Mr. Karisa saying, that one is over to you. Mr. Yota looked at him, Honorable Mongi, at him, saying, anyway, ladies and gentlemen, in address, he is our next speaker, and so together for the chair Association of Broadcasters, Mr. Ken Karisa, that before he dives into, he handles this pertinent question that has been asked. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Karisa as he comes through.
Mr. MC, this is now throwing me in the deep end.
You are equal to the task, Sebo.
Deep end. Honorable ministers, starting with the Minister of Labor, my elder sister, Honorable Minister of ICT, Honorable Kabiang, the Permanent Secretary Minister of ICT and National Guidance, Dr. Amina Zawede, the MD Nssf and your team, our regulators, starting with UCC and NITA, colleagues, CEOs from the media sector, our media here today, ladies and gentlemen. Now, should I start with that last question, or let me start by thanking NSSF. Let's put our hands together for NSSF for two things. One, for growing our fund by 15%, I saw the other day. Amidst all the noise that you've had, all the noise and chaos and parliament and so many other things. Thank you, Patrick and your team. You are doing great. The other one, for bringing us here today. I'm the happiest. I'm the happiest that we've had this engagement, and UCC, our regulator, and NSSF are coming together to make sure our journalists get dignified pay. Because journalism is a calling, but people have exploited these people for a very long time. Let me start by explaining how the media landscape is. NAB-wise. NAB is an association that takes care of all TV stations or radio stations and online media. I believe UCC has already given you the numbers. Almost 300 radio stations, almost 70 TV stations, over 60 online, and many others. It's a huge industry and a very influential industry that changes people's mindset and sets the narrative. It's a powerful industry. But the people who work in it, the foot soldiers, are not taken care of. And this is why. Who owns media in Uganda? Number one, it's government. Go to UBC, that is supervised by Honorable Kabianga and my sister, Dr. Zawede, and ask them how many people at UBC do have contracts, how viable are those contracts, how are they paid, are they remitting NSSF or not? Start from there. I believe UBC is not far from NSSF. Start from there and start with that table. So, media. Number two, the MPs and ministers. As chairman of NAB, I'm aware that more than 30 cabinet ministers own radio stations. More than 100 MPs own radio stations. And it's a reason why UCC has diluted this industry. There are licenses all over, radio stations all over. Out of those 300 radio stations, not more than 30 break even. Patrick, have you heard this? Not more than 30 break even. Not more than 50 are regularized with proper contracts, staff contracts, regularizing whatever. These honorable ministers, I'm not talking of these ones who are here today, but some ministers, they have put security guards using soldiers and police. Umeme can't reach their premises, so they are consuming power without paying for it. They get either personal assistants or distant relatives are the managers running the stations. They don't have contracts for their employees. They fund the radios from their pockets, and I doubt if they are paying UCC for their licenses. Because UCC finds them in COSASE. UCC finds them in the ICT committee. UCC, it's these ministers approving their budgets. How do you send a small person in a regional office in Gulu to go and shut down a minister's radio? So that's the dilemma. That's the media you're talking about today. So we have that category of ministers. I'm not saying that all ministers are in that space, but most of them. And I can give you a list. We are aware of it. So this is very good. Let's see how they will go to renew their, you call it operational certificate. You get a license for 5 years, and then every year you must get a certificate of operation or something like that. That certificate, if you tag NSSF's certificate, let's see how they will get it. I'm waiting for that day when UCC will shut down those radios. I'm waiting for it. These powerful ministers. Yes, because that table, when they raised that question, all of them said, aha, can tell us. And now I'm telling you where the root cause is. So that's how media is. You have government, you have ministers, you have private business individuals and business organizations that are running media. Then you have cultural institutions that own media. You have religious institutions. The Pentecostals have more than 60 radios. Religious institutions. So that's how media is in Uganda. I am welcoming this initiative of having NSSF and UCC working together so that we can protect the people who work for us. I welcome the idea. And you better implement it knowing this background I've given, because you'll find the same people in COSASE waiting for you. And we'll cover, our cameras will be there to cover you. Now, NSSF, with the new act or the updated act, you need to do a lot of publicity. These members here have asked me to ask you that you need to invest. The way you say a certain percentage must be invested in running the fund. And you are very efficient compared to all the other funds in Africa. You are one of the most efficient funds I know of, because I look at the numbers. Can you put a certain percentage in creating awareness using these media houses that are here? Give them some funds to publicize the new initiatives in this updated act. Because I know there is voluntary savings. Now I know for sure you don't need to have 5 people in a company, even 1 person in a company you need to save. Our maids at home, they also need dignified retirement because they will not work for you forever. So why don't you have a major campaign to publicize these initiatives? Using these media houses that eventually will use part of those funds to save for their people. So it's a very, very, very important initiative that we need to take on. Then, as I conclude, as media, we are very obedient to the regulator, UCC. UCC, you need to find ways of studying how this industry is growing and how it is degenerating. And look at the way you are giving out licenses, whether they are productive or counterproductive. You have diluted this industry that very few media houses will survive in the next 5 years. That one I can tell you. The few people that are surviving, they are using media for other reasons, for their political agenda. So they get money from parliament or other businesses and fund. So they pay salaries from their pockets. You will not find any payroll in some of those media houses. But it starts with UCC. They said in every 20 meters, there is a radio. In every 20 meters, there's a radio. So UCC, and you have your supervisor, the minister here, you need to look at that. Because I know I'm to the president, you know, for my politics, I need to have a frequency here, I need to have this. They issue these frequencies. You have over-diluted this market. That one I can tell you. And in the next 5 years, you will see media houses crumbling, for a fact. Because I know out of 60 or 70 TV stations, more than 10 break even. So what kind of industry is that? Out of those 300 radio stations, not more than 30 issues you need to look at and say, how do you sustain this vibrant industry that we need? Nssf, as we conclude, now as Next Media, not as NAB, started an idea of creating more jobs so that you can have them save with the Nssf, with the work for. You have someone having 1.5 million followers. It's a marketplace where someone with a product can engage that market. So they have gone to the same places we go to also seek adverts, to promote those things. But also there are people who on social media trading insults. They're abusing each other. So we are saying, as Next Media will celebrate 15 years, we are willing to add 1.5 million jobs. So how can NSF